Two silver arrows. Front row, locked out. Melbourne's Albert Park held its breath.
Two silver arrows. Front row. Locked out. Melbourne's Albert Park held its breath. And in that single moment, Formula One changed forever. Because today wasn't just a qualifying session. Today was a coronation, a declaration of war, and the most brutal elimination round the new regulations have ever produced. Max Verstappen, the man who rewrote the record books, didn't even make it out of Q1. Lewis Hamilton crossed the line seventh. So here's the question that's keeping every engineer in the paddock awake tonight. Has Mercedes already ended this championship before it even began? And more importantly, who's brave enough to stop them? Let's go back to where it started. Friday, Albert Park. Free practice. Business as usual. Then, Kimi Antonelli's W17 meets the barriers at high speed. Front left suspension, shredded. Front wing actuators, reduced to debris. Engineers who've seen it all walked to that car, looked at each other, and said the words no team ever wants to hear. This car won't make it. But Mercedes didn't panic. They didn't fold. They went to work. 2 hours. A complete rebuild. Carbon fiber bonding over stress fractures. Surgical precision under impossible pressure. And when the garage doors opened for qualifying, that car was alive again. That was the first sign. But then came the second. Because while Mercedes mechanics were performing miracles in the garage, Max Verstappen was preparing what should have been a straightforward Q1 lap. The champion, the favorite, the man who makes the impossible look routine. Final corner. The rear steps out. Barriers. Suspension failure. Gone. But that was just the start. Ferrari arrived in Melbourne carrying the weight of expectation. Lewis Hamilton in red, the greatest driver on the grid, finally united with the most iconic team in Formula One. The paddock whispered about a red revolution. Instead, Hamilton crossed the line in P7, complaining of understeer, struggling for balance, searching for answers Melbourne's high-speed corners refused to give him. 3 stories, 3 shocks, and qualifying had barely begun. Because what happened next changed everything. George Russell stepped into his car like a man who already knew. 1 minute, 18 seconds, 518 milliseconds. Pole position. Clean. Clinical. Devastating. On the surface, it looked simple. Mercedes found the pace. Mercedes took the front row. Story over. But look closer at the data, and the story gets complicated. Russell's transition speed through turns 9 and 10 was 4 kilometers per hour faster than his nearest rival. Not because he was braver. Not because he was luckier. Because Mercedes built a car that physically cannot be matched through high-speed corners under the 2026 regulations. Their extreme downwash bodywork channels energy to the rear wing and diffuser with an efficiency that rivals simply don't have an answer for. And here's the twist nobody expected. While Ferrari, Red Bull, and McLaren spent months adapting their philosophies to the new rules, Mercedes committed to one radical aerodynamic direction and never blinked. Russell's radio message after the pole lap said everything. This is just the beginning. That wasn't celebration. That was a warning. Now let's talk about the detail that changes everything. Inside the Mercedes garage, sources reveal that Antonelli's rebuilt chassis carried stress fractures into qualifying. Stress fractures, temporarily patched with carbon fiber bonding. A car that, by any conventional engineering logic, should not have been competitive. Antonelli put it second on the grid. Let that sink in. A 19-year-old, in his debut season, driving a structurally compromised car, delivered one of the most extraordinary qualifying laps in recent memory. That performance isn't just impressive. It tells you something about the W17 that the lap times alone cannot. This car has so much built-in performance that even in a wounded state, it dominates. Meanwhile, across the paddock in Milton Keynes' satellite tent, the Red Bull engineers faced a very different reality. The RB22's torque ripple issues and ERS inconsistencies aren't minor setup problems. They are deep, structural challenges in the 2026 power unit architecture. Verstappen didn't crash because he made a mistake. Verstappen crashed because the car reached the absolute limit, and the limit wasn't enough. But here's where the revelation truly cuts deep. Young Isaac Hadjar, in the same car, qualified third. Same torque ripple. Same ERS inconsistency. Third on the grid. Which means the RB22 has the aerodynamic package to fight. But that package is, as one paddock source described it, dangerously sensitive. In Verstappen's hands, on this day, that sensitivity became a weapon pointed at himself. And this is where the story gets dark. This wasn't just a qualifying result. This was a power shift. At team level, Mercedes has seized every advantage available: technical, logistical, and psychological. Rebuilding a car in 2 hours isn't just engineering. It's a statement of organizational dominance that every rival garage felt. At championship level, Verstappen starts from the back, the defending champion, buried in traffic before the first safety car. Ferrari's Hamilton starts 7th, hoping strategy and tire degradation tell a kinder story than the lap times did. And at the political level, something even bigger happened before qualifying began. A driver revolt. Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton led a group demanding the FIA ban active aero deployment from the start until turn 1. Their argument: activating wings at the start line would cause a massacre. The FIA yielded. Completely. Active aero banned until after turn 1. In one afternoon, the drivers reshaped Sunday's race. Ferrari's inverted wing advantage off the line? Gone. Every car locked into Z mode, maximum downforce, for the standing start. Tomorrow's launch becomes a battle of pure traction and turbo spool-up management. This wasn't just a race, it was a warning. So how does Sunday unfold? Scenario 1. Russell leads from lights to flag. Antonelli holds second on a damaged chassis. Melbourne witnesses the most dominant opening race in the regulation era, and the 2026 championship is effectively over before April. Scenario 2. Verstappen, starting from the back, begins the greatest comeback drive of his career. Chaos at turn 1. Safety cars. Strategy pivots. And somehow, impossibly, the champion finds himself in points contention with 10 laps remaining. Scenario 3. Piastri, home hero, purple sectors, grandstands erupting, finds a gap that nobody predicted. McLaren's revised rear wing holds. The gearbox survives. And on the final lap, Albert Park witnesses something it has never seen before. Because dynasties fall the moment they start believing they're untouchable. Can Antonelli's stress-fractured chassis survive 58 race laps? Is Verstappen's Q1 exit a one-day catastrophe, or the beginning of Red Bull's darkest season? And the question nobody in the paddock wants to answer out loud: has Mercedes already made T.'s championship a one-horse race? One thing is certain: tomorrow's blue light sequence won't just start a race. It will start a war. If you made it this far, you already know this season isn't about who's fastest. It's about who survives. So tell me, is this the dawn of a new Mercedes empire? Or is the paddock's biggest upset still waiting around the next corner? Drop your race predictions below. Subscribe, hit the bell, and stay fast.